Hello and welcome to the Addicts Anonymous podcast. I'm your host, Jim R. Today is episode 84, and we're going to be interviewing Stephanie A. Good morning, Stephanie. How are we?
Good morning. I'm well. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. So we were just chatting, get to know each other a little bit. So I'm excited to hear your story. So let's dive in and get the party started. Tell us about growing up in your childhood.
Okay. So I am the youngest child. It was me and my brother. I am the product of a functioning alcoholic father and a very enabling mother, but she did the best that she could. So I think like during my childhood, I was exposed to a lot of stuff. I saw like drinking and drug use and things like that.
How
There
young are
was a
your
lot
memories
of,
of that? Do you remember like how far back your memory goes? Was it like 2, 3 years old, or was it like 10?
I think like 3.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you remember a lot.
Yeah. I mean, it was always just a part of my life. I thought that that was what was normal. I don't think until I was older and like went to a sleepover where I was like, oh, why is your dad not passed out on the floor? It's like 8 p.m., like they're like, Stephanie, that's not normal. And I was like, oh, okay. So yeah, I mean, he always worked, provided for the family. My mom stayed home and took care of us. She was very loving. She did the best that she could, but I
Was it
mean,
just drinking, or did your dad was he drinking to get drunk? Oh, then again, you say he was passing out. Do you remember him like kind of acting like a fool at all, or?
oh yeah, he would get really shit-faced. He would have friends over while he was babysitting me and my brother, and whenever that would happen, he would kind of kick us out of the house so he could party with his friends. And um, I would always kind of have to gauge to see like what mood dad was going to be in. Like, what dad am I going to get? Is it the fun happy dad? Is it the melancholy dad? Or is it the like angry about anything kind of dad? And he never like got violent with us, but he would do the fear, intimidation, yelling stuff. But my mom was very adamant about, him not putting his hands on us, which I'm very thankful for, because things could have been a lot worse. But it was really frustrating, like I would see other kids with their dads and like I didn't have that relationship. I didn't know, if it was something that I did wrong. And I think I internalized that for a lot, was like, oh, I'm not good enough to get his attention, but the beer is, so maybe I should, drink like that, see
It,
what it's all about.
yeah, isn't it terrible that that's where our mind goes a lot of times as children, that we're not good enough? So sad.
Yeah. And I think like later on, I kind of realized that that had such an impact on, you know, how I behaved as an adult, um, becoming a people pleaser and going out of my way to make sure that everybody else is taken care of, and kind of doing things that I wouldn't particularly do to make other people happy. um, so yeah, it had a huge impact. We tried to get him to go to detox finally, like 2 months ago. And like my inner child was like, why is it taking you so long to do this? Like, my life could have been so different if you like got it together when I was
Yeah.
younger. But then also like I finally got to a point in my life where I like who I am and what I do. So it's that whole like, would I change the things that I've gone through? There's some things that I could live without, like, seeing my dad chase my cat around with a knife because he was drunk and mad at the cat,
Wow. Wow.
or passing out on the floor and me and my brother hog tying him with socks. Like just fun stuff because
Yeah.
we were living with an alcoholic. But Yeah. So, I mean, my mom kind of always made it the best that she could, but she would enable him a lot. And I see that more now as an adult than I did as a child.
What kind of
Um,
things was she doing to enable him?
so like she would always drive him places so he wouldn't get DUIs. She would put him to bed. She would kind of monitor how much he was drinking, things like that. Pick him up from work if he started drinking at work. Um, and just, making excuses for why he's doing what he was doing. Like I was always told, oh, your dad works hard. So that's how he relaxes. He comes home and he drinks, and that's how he relaxes. And so I kind of internalized that thought too of when I grow up and I work hard, then I'm going to come home and I can relax by drinking. Like that's what adults do. Um, and then for a while, I kind of had this resentment. I had that thought of like, I'm never going to be like him. I don't want to be like him. Um, until high school. uh, so,
Well,
I
real
mean, we
quick,
moved.
before you go to
Okay.
high school, what was school like for you as a child? Did this affect you when you were outside of the house as well?
So, I mean, he wouldn't come to school events, social events, things like that.
He was too
Because
drunk.
yeah, or he couldn't drink while he was there. So and also like financially, like I couldn't afford the nice clothes that everybody had and things like that. Yeah, couldn't really do sports all the time because sometimes, uniforms are expensive and you have to
Yep.
pay all these fees so you can do sports. So it did kind of impact that. I didn't really have friends come to my house for like sleepovers or birthday parties or stuff. I tried to go to their house instead. Um, and I think my mom kind of encouraged that also because she didn't want people to see how he was, which contributes to the enabling.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think I was just frustrated. Like I did softball and I really wanted him to be there. I wanted him to be proud of me. And I didn't get that. I didn't have that kind of support, which, I mean, I don't know. Daddy issues, I guess, right?
Yep. No. I technically have daddy issues as well. They might
Yeah.
be different than yours, but I got issues with my father. The thing was with me, I guess I was kind of lucky. I mean, then again, he was abusive, but he never did any drugs or alcohol. That
Oh,
was,
okay.
yeah, that was the one thing, but he was still an asshole. I
Yeah.
remember one time I thought to myself, I wish he was an alcoholic, only so this way he'd have an excuse for the bullshit he put me through.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
in my mind, he's got no excuse. He doesn't have
Right.
mental illness. He doesn't have a lot of the stuff I deal with.
Hmm.
But so enough about me. As we're going back to you, you said going into high school. How was that?
Yeah. So when I was in like the third grade, we moved to my grandmother's house, which was in a very affluent town. And
Was
because we
there a
were low
reason
income, um,
that you moved in with grandma?
it was financial
Tight
stuff.
on
And
cash.
then, yeah. And then I think my mom wanted to be closer to her father and stuff. Um, so we moved there, and that had like a really big impact because there was a lot of affluent kids at school. So I got kind of bullied for not having nice clothes and stuff like that. So when I finally got to high school, we had like a regional high school. So there were like 5 different towns. They all came together, and I was like, oh my God, people that I can actually be friends with because there's other like kids that don't have all this rich shit. And I mean, high school is that whole like trying to figure out where you fit in, self-exploration. I think that's when I started experimenting, definitely like started drinking. I would steal my dad's beer. But in my mind, I was drinking for fun. I wasn't drinking to cope with things. I was doing it to be with my friends and hang out and do fun stuff, rather than just getting absolutely wasted. And it progressed. I think the people that I started hanging out with were a bunch of hippies, which was cool. But like there was a whole lot of stuff that I was introduced to, and I was not hesitant to say no to it because I found that escape. I found that I don't have to feel anything. I don't have to worry when I'm doing this stuff.
What kind
And
of stuff?
like we would smoke a bunch of weed all the time and drink, and then psychedelics. Yeah. And then like later on it was like ecstasy and cocaine, and I think I've tried everything at least once except for meth. Because somehow in my mind, like meth was just way too much, but like, okay, yeah, sure. Like I'll
Yeah,
do cocaine for
everything else.
days, but why? No, meth is bad. Like, um, so yeah, it kind of progressed, and it's crazy how it was like this slow progression. Like I didn't even kind of realize how bad it got. Um, so when I was 17, I got into a car accident and rolled my Jeep and got a DUI. And that was the first time that I kind of, had to do AA meetings, things like that. I was totally against it. I was like, I'm 17. I'm not even old enough to legally go to a bar. Like, I'm not going to stop drinking, like it was, it was a binge and I'm fine. So court, legal stuff, lots of money. That was not fun. um, and it just like the destruction continued on and on. I found myself in like very toxic relationships. I didn't know what it was like to have a healthy relationship. I'd never really seen what that looked like. So I was with people that I was associated with, using with, and it got to a point like I was seeing a guy, and he was doing a lot more than I knew about. He was very secretive. He would like leave for days, and I guess he was like using heroin and smoking crack, and I was the one at home paying the bills, working. He didn't have a job. But love, right? The
Yeah.
things that we do. Um, and it became really abusive to the point that I was scared for my life. He stabbed me at a party.
Oh my
Uh,
God.
and we would
What
get into
you got to
like
tell us
fist.
more about, you got to tell us more about that. What happened, if you don't mind, with the stabbing?
So we were at a going away party for one of my friends that I worked with because he was going into the military.
Okay.
And, I was talking with friends and coworkers, and he got really jealous. So I had pepper spray on my keychain, and he stole the pepper spray and sprayed a bunch of people in the face because he was mad, and then smashed a table and was trying to stab a bunch of people. And while I'm trying to like get him away, he stabs me. And
Where did he stab you?
like right here in the arm. I had to get like 26 stitches, I think.
Oh my God. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. So that was fun.
Sounds like
uh
it.
yeah. And then, we stayed. I stayed. I kept like saying, oh, it was an accident, but why would I want to continue to be with somebody that's that violent? I mean,
It's something that's very common because like we were just talking about before we started, I've done over 80 interviews. And obviously just doing what I do, you talk to a lot of people, and so many people have codependency issues where,
mhm.
pardon my language, again, shit on by the other person. But I had the same problem. My ex-girlfriend would reduce me to tears, and I'd go to her to feel better. Like, I need a hug now. It's like, what? How psychotic does that sound? Someone makes me
Right.
feel awful, and then I go back to them within an hour, like, make me feel better. Or it was, a relationship based on sex or something like that. It was like I look back now that I'm sober, I'm like, dude, that was crazy.
Yeah.
Going back to the ones that hurt us the most.
Yeah. It was scary. Um, the abuse was progressive. I think the first time that I really realized it was we had friends over and he got mad about something and grabbed me by my hair and dragged me into the bedroom and locked me in there. And I was like, what the like, did this just really happen? Um, and then it got more physical. I broke his hand, so I mean, I did get like some good stuff in. Not
Yeah.
that that's anything to brag about, but I at least like defended myself at times. Um, but it got really, really scary. I left, I moved back with my parents, and he came to my house in the middle of the night, loosened the lug nuts on my tire, and my tire fell off while I was driving.
Holy shit.
So
That
after
must have been
that,
scary. That must have been really scary.
yeah, I was like, I need to get out of here, because if I stay, he's gonna kill me, pretty much. So like a month later, I moved to Myrtle Beach. I had to get out of there. Which was kind of the big start of like things getting out of control, like really badly. Um, I went down there for vacation. I got myself set up with a job. I got an apartment. I was like, I'm going to do this right. And um, after like a year, everything just crumbled. I think I moved to like 5 different houses, a bunch of different jobs. I was drinking all the time. I was doing things for money that aren't particularly nice.
Not your proudest moments.
No, like, I mean,
That's another
I
common
got,
story.
yeah, like
It's like,
I had to pay my bills. It was a very um party town. So in the summer, it was go, 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 fast money. I was like waitressing and cooking. And then once the winter hits, it's dead and they fire people, because they don't need that many employees. And I sat there and I was like, I don't have anything right now. So like
you hit the
one of my
street.
friends was like, hey, come with me. You can work at the strip club. And I was like, sure, let's do this. Why not? Because if I don't pay my bills, I'm gonna end up like living on the street. And I wasn't ready to do that.
I always wondered about, like, get into any bit of the sex trade. I mean, it takes, I guess, a certain bit of confidence to get in front of all those people naked. I can't imagine doing that. Like, that to me would scare the shit out of me. What are they going to think? Blah, blah, blah. All your self issues, whatever you call it, with most people that aren't too proud of their body. It's a problem that a lot of us have. That must have been hard.
So I mean, I kind of sought validation from sex. That was um I wanted to please people. I wanted people to like me. And I found that sleeping with people made them like me. So for me, sex was like a tool, and it wasn't that hard when you can drink on the job and do copious amounts of cocaine. You're just like, okay, whatever. But there's definitely some people who, I don't know. I remember this one guy was like, what does your daddy think about you? And in my head, I'm like, he don't give a shit. Like, why do you think I'm here? I have daddy issues,
That's great.
Yeah. So I think that was like the low. That was where I hit my bottom at that point. My dad had got hurt at work, and my mom asked me if I would move home. So I moved back to Massachusetts and stayed with them. I was like, I'm going to get it together this time. I'm going to do it this time. I was like 24. I went to school for medical assisting. I was dead set. I'm going to be a nurse. I'm going to do all this stuff. Graduated with high honors. I was like really proud of myself. And once I had a degree, I was like, okay, I want to move back to Myrtle Beach because now I have a skill where I'm not just in the food industry. I'm not going to get fired in the winter. I will have a job. And moved back down there. And once again, was working in the food industry.
Real quick, what was, because it sounds like drinking a lot, what was your drug of choice? Was it alcohol?
Alcohol, and then for a long time it was like alcohol and cocaine, but also
That's
while I was
another common thing I
drinking.
hear. Another common combination is most people say to me, I was a drinker and I did a lot of cocaine. For some reason, those two tend to go hand in hand. I'm not sure why.
Because you can drink longer.
This is true.
Yeah, it lets you even if you're blacked out, you still can drink the whole night.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I went back to Myrtle, and it was just a party every night. I always had a job. I always made sure I had a house or an apartment or a place to live.
So you became just like your father, a functioning addict who paid the bills.
Right, exactly. And my mentality was like, well, I don't have anybody else to take care of. The only person I have to worry about is myself. I don't have kids. I don't have anything but me. So I'm not hurting anybody but myself. But little did I realize, like, the days I wouldn't answer my phone, my mom was like, I would look on your social media because I didn't know if you disappeared, if you were dead, or anything like that. So that was kind of shitty on my part. Like, now that I think back on it, I was like, oh my God, I can't imagine my kid doing that to me now that I have one. That would really break my heart. Yeah. So, I mean, once again, Myrtle Beach, it was toxic relationships, and I had like 2 serious relationships throughout my life before moving to Myrtle, and they kind of messed me up really bad. So I got to the point where I was like, I just don't want that. And because Myrtle is such a vacation spot, there's new people there every single week. So I was waitressing, and people would come in, and they'd be like, hey, where's a cool place to go? And I was like, oh, if you buy me drinks, I'll take you out and show you everything. So it was a win-win because I got free drinks all night. And I think back on it, and I was like, I could have died. I just like went with strangers, got in their car, like it was nothing, just because I wanted free alcohol. Go to their hotel rooms. Like, I didn't know if they were single, married, what their status was, and I didn't care. And that was kind of how bad the addiction was I wanted what I wanted, and I didn't care who I hurt during the process. I don't think I really thought about who I hurt in the process.
So you
So
sounds like you were just craving attention.
yeah, yeah, it definitely was. Like I wanted that power, kind of, to feel wanted, to feel desired. I lacked that definitely as a child, so I sought it out, especially with men. Um, yeah. It was I don't know. And it was so easy to do it at the beach. Like, it really was. It was always there. And they would leave. So I wouldn't have to worry. But I think later on, I was like 27. Um I was working at a steakhouse and started dating one of the bartenders. He was way, way older than me, way older than me, but he sold cocaine. So, you know, I made the compromise of like, what's the age difference? No big deal. Like, free cocaine all the time, or like,
Sounds like a good deal to me, right?
yeah, yeah. And he was kind of happy to have a young girlfriend, I guess. um, so it was definitely a very toxic relationship. Um, I was never like 100% committed to him. Like, I told him I was, but I always did whatever the hell I wanted. Um, and it was pretty crazy. So that's when, the cocaine got really bad, the drinking got even worse. He would enable me. I didn't have a license, I didn't drive. And
You think
it
he
was
was
kind
doing
of
it to keep you around?
um
Like, let me keep her high and she'll stay with me.
I guess to a degree, but at the end he was sick of my bullshit, so he was like, "I'm done with you." And I was like, "What?" What do you mean? No. Um, yeah. Yeah, he got sick of me.
What kind of
So
bullshit? What kind of bullshit would you put him through?
just like blackout, drunk, pass out places. We went to the House of Blues for a concert, and he had to have somebody help him carry me out because I got absolutely wasted and passed out. Um, yeah, it was bad. Uh, so I was with him. We split up. Things got kind of rocky then because I didn't have free drugs anymore. So I was uh, doing things for drugs that I didn't think I would do ever. um, and then I started working on a casino boat, which was pretty cool, but my drinking really escalated then. I wasn't doing as much cocaine, but I was drinking a lot. And I think that's when I finally kind of hit my bottom. I know that there were bottoms all throughout, it didn't, I was in detox. I went to rehab for 30 days. I kept going to AA meetings. I would have bouts of sobriety for like, I think my longest was like 6 months. But in my head, it was, I'm young. And the thought of me never drinking again scares the shit out of me. I didn't learn good coping skills. I didn't have a good support system. So I kept going back out like, oh, I'm not as bad as these other people. I'm not that bad. I'm not that bad. And justifying why I was drinking. And at that point, I was like, I know that I'm an alcoholic. I absolutely 100% know that I am. And I was not ready to stop. So it took me meeting my husband to kind of get me there. We were staying in a condo together, and my drinking
How did
was,
you guys meet? You said you're staying in a condo. How did that
so
happen?
he was on the casino boat gambling, and I was the kitchen manager. So like I would walk around, um, like bringing food to people's table and stuff like that. And one of the bartenders introduced me to him. She was like, "Oh, he'll take care of you. You won't have to worry about stuff. He'll take care of you." And I was like, "Eh, I'm not really worried about that." Um, but we started dating, and he was tired of driving. He was in North Carolina, so it was like a 2-hour drive to get to the casino boat. So we just got a place together, and um, I was doing a lot of blackout drinking, like would wake up on the floor. He would have to like carry me to bed. Um, and one night I drank 2 bottles of wine, and just I wasn't fun anymore. I wasn't the fun drunk. I wasn't the happy drunk. I turned into the mean drunk, and I would like start fights, and I started a fight with him, and I woke up the next morning and he was gone. And he was like, "Well, you need to choose either alcohol or me." And I was like, "Hi." Like, you're not going to tell me what to do. Nobody tells me what to do. And like 2 weeks later, I was sitting there, like, really thinking, this is the only person who has ever thought that I could do better, wanted me to do better, wanted to help me be like the best that I could be. And I just told him to leave. Like, is that really what I want? Um, so I called him, and we talked, and he said he would give me a chance. Um, and that was like the start of my sobriety. I got to that point where I was just, I'm done. I don't want to be this person anymore. I'm tired of, not having people that actually truly care about me. I'm tired of burning the candle at both ends. I'm tired of not having security and love and a healthy relationship. So it was scary. It was difficult. I basically had to learn everything. I don't know if you've ever heard like the age that you start drinking when you get sober, you kind of revert back to that age because you haven't really taken the time to develop and
Yeah.
grow as a person. So I had to learn how to communicate. I didn't know what a healthy relationship was like. We would get into like small arguments, and I would shut down and try and walk away. And he's like, "That's not how this works." And I was like, "What do you mean that's not how this works?" It's like, "No, we need to talk about stuff. We need to come to a resolution." And that was such a foreign concept to me that I didn't know how to do it. I had to learn what I liked, what I wanted to do, because my life just revolved around like going to the club and drinking. And I just felt like empty. I didn't know what I liked. I didn't know what to do. So I tried everything. I tried knitting and sewing and gardening and reading, and I don't even know, like just anything I could, coloring and trying to paint. Because I didn't know what I liked. I didn't know who I was. Um, but we had to move away from Myrtle Beach because there was no way I could have got sober there. No way. It was too much of a party lifestyle. There was too much craziness going on. the people were kind of toxic. And it really was an environment that just fostered drinking. So we moved to the middle of nowhere, North Carolina, and I didn't know anybody. There wasn't any bars to go to. And it was really hard. Like I cried a lot. I think I clearly remember laying on the floor in the bathroom, crying and kicking my feet like I was a toddler. And my husband was like, "What is wrong with you?" And I was like, "I just want to drink. I don't want to feel anything right now. I just want to drink." And it was really, really hard to overcome that because I didn't have any other coping skills. I didn't know what I wanted to do. So yeah, that was pretty rough, but I powered through it. I think I was just sober. I wasn't in recovery. I didn't go to any meetings. I didn't have any support. It was just me and my husband, and he got sober when I did too. He didn't really have an issue drinking, but he was addicted to gambling. And like the last day that I was on the casino boat, he was playing poker and lost like $5,000.
A lot of money.
So yeah, it was crazy. And his mood was determined by what was in his wallet. So that kind of had a really big impact on our relationship. So we kind of sat down and spoke about that too, of like, I'm making these changes in my life, so I think you should make some changes too. But it wasn't long after that. I mean, it seemed like everything just happened all at once. Like I got pregnant, we bought a house, we got married, then we had my son. I decided to go back to school. I was going to go for nursing, and I went. Apparently, you have to have a CNA in North Carolina before you can do nursing school. So I went through the entire course and went to go do my externship, and they were like, "Oh, you can't do it here because of your background check." And I was very upset. Like I was top of the class, but because I had a DUI on my background, they were like, "No." So my teacher convinced them to like let me finish and get credit for the course, but it impacted my ability to go to nursing school, which was what I was kind of dead set on doing. And I was at this point in my life where I was like, my past is catching up on me and it's giving me all these roadblocks, but I don't want to give up. So I said, F you, I am going to be your boss. I'm going to get a degree where I can be the boss of a nurse. Like, you're not going to tell me that I can't get an education just because I was, crazy as a child. So that's what got me into social work. I went to Fayetteville State University, got my bachelor's degree. Then I went to University of North Carolina at Pembroke and got my master's. And during all of that, I kind of got into the recovery community. I started facilitating smart recovery meetings. I did the training for that. And we kind of established like 3 meetings in Fayetteville. And I got the actual recovery, like working on myself, working on bettering who I was, learning how to cope with things. And so now here I am, a substance abuse counselor, a mental health therapist, 8.5 years of sobriety. So it was a big shift, a big change. I love what I do. It's great. I think that a lot of my clients can kind of connect with me because I'm pretty transparent about my own addiction and what I've gone through. So it helps them kind of relate, and they're more open about what they have going on and honest with me. I don't know if you've ever gone to therapy before, but it's kind of uncomfortable to sit with somebody who's just staring at you, writing on a piece of paper and not engaging.
Yeah.
So I try to like engage a lot, like critical thinking and empowering people. But it was hard. It was very, very hard. But I'm glad that I can kind of be an inspiration to other people of like, just because you were in that position doesn't mean you can't do anything with your future. So, yeah.
That's great. So you sound like you're doing good.
Yeah, yeah. So I have two jobs. I work at medical assisted treatment for opioid addiction, and then also mental health, and do therapy there. And yeah, it's it's great. It's interesting to kind of hear other people's story because I get to hear that all the time. We go more in depth. I definitely agree with the whole childhood experiences stuff where we do internalize things like you were saying, the I'm not good enough, and molds and shapes our behaviors based on what we've gone through. Um, and then trying to find who you are, like what you are. For a long time I did not like who I was. I hated myself. And it was like 2 months ago I was talking with a client, and I was like, you just, we need to get you to a point where you like yourself. I like myself. And in my head I was like, did I just say that I like myself? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. So it's funny that you were talking about loving yourself. So we have 4 pillars in the Addicts Anonymous program. And the first one is, I go self-love, discipline, hard work, and community. Those are the 4 things to build upon. The first one is self-love. It's so true. If you can't get to a point where you love yourself, there's no reason to get better. You get better because you say, I love myself and I want to be a better person and I don't want to be miserable.
Right. Yeah. And that's huge because you have to do it for you. I see that all the time, is like, whether you're court ordered to come into treatment, if you don't have that drive and desire to want to be better, it's a struggle. um like throughout my drinking was, I was in and out of AA, I was in and out of detox and rehab, and um I just wasn't ready. I didn't want it. Everybody else wanted it but me. And it
Yeah.
took me to want it, to actually get it.
But it sounds like you got it. So that's all that matters.
Yeah. Yeah. But I have to like continually work on it. I like the smart recovery. I've never kind of been to the Addicts Anonymous. I think that, or what is the, yeah.
Yeah, we're Addicts Anonymous.
I would love to like look into that. I think, whatever helps you get sober
Exactly.
is
I'm
what you need to do. Yeah.
on my website. So like, exactly. Everyone needs whatever resource. Like, so even if you go to my resources page, we have stuff for AA, NA, Gamblers Anonymous, Overeaters Anonymous. Because I know my program is at the end all sale. That some people might like
Right.
it. Some people might only use it, but some people are going to be using this Smart Recovery, Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous. They might mix the few. With
Yeah. And I think that's perfect because, I mean, to each their own. Like, everybody has different stuff. I kind of resonated with that because I never connected with the whole higher power thing. So
yeah,
it was the science-based side of it. And because I'm like down with psychology and irrational behaviors and thoughts and beliefs, that kind of was what stuck with me. But I still will sit in an AA meeting every now and then when I know that I need that support and I need to be reminded, like, this could happen to you again, if you don't stay diligent and make sure that you take care of yourself, like addiction could slip back in because, there's people who have had long-term sobriety that will relapse. And I just don't want to be that person. I hope I'm not going to be that person.
One day at a time.
So yeah. I have my boss at my other job. He is in recovery also. And one thing that he says that really kind of sticks out with me is, when you're in recovery, you build all these monuments, like you take these steps and then these things happen. And while you're going through that, you're building all these moments in time. And when you think about relapse, you think about wanting to use, think about those monuments that you're going to have to walk back past in order to get where you are. And is it worth it to go and regress? And I think that that's huge because it does. Even after 8.5 years, there's times where I get so overwhelmed and so frustrated. And I'm like, I just want to get drunk. And then I get mad at myself because I'm like, why is that the first thing that I go to? Why is that? But it's like this internal automatic, like, that's that instant gratification. It's that instant, I don't have to feel anything right now. And I think, like, if I did, look at all the stuff that I would lose. Look at all the progress that I've made. Is it worth it for me to feel like that, to do that? No, absolutely not. Yeah. But the thought still crosses my mind every now and then. I don't know about you. What about you? Like, do you ever have those moments where you're just like,
I've been lucky. I haven't had a craving yet. One
really?
time when I was moving, I was like, oh, maybe you could celebrate that night you move into your new place. But I caught myself real fast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because it wasn't a real thought, because I would have never done it. Like, I don't know what I am. I don't know if I'm a full-blown addict or just an abuser, but I think because I've read that there's a difference, that there's addicts and then there's drug abusers or substance abusers, where if you give them a reason to get sober, they can. They'll still go through withdrawal. They still need detox and all that stuff, but they might be the one person or one of the few people that can quit the first time around and stay quit, or the addict who relapses or just battles the rest of their life. So I don't know which one I am. Yeah, I'm still pretty new to recovery, only 2 years. So I'm still trying to figure myself out. Yeah.
So what was your drug of choice?
Oh, I liked a lot of stuff. I was lucky that I never got into IV stuff, but I liked, painkillers, Adderall, Klonopin, ecstasy, cocaine. For the last 10 years of my drinking and drugging career, I was drinking hardcore, like every night, like a bunch of shots of whiskey and bourbon, and popping that with Klonopin and mixing them up, then throwing in Adderall. So I liked a bunch of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would mix bad stuff, like the wrong combination. I'm surprised I'm alive.
Those booze and benzos are a dangerous mix.
Yep. Yes, they are.
Yeah. I was in detox and I was asking another patient, I was like, oh, so what was your, drug of choice? And he was like, Klonopin cocktails. And I was like, what's that? And he was like, you just put a couple in some whiskey. And I was
Take
like,
the shot.
what?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, because I was prescribed them, and I think at one point I was prescribed 3 per day. So I would try not to take them during the day, and then pop all 3, and then start drinking.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I was an idiot.
Blackout City.
Oh yeah, exactly. Did you know how many times I woke up like, what did I do last night? Who did I text? What did I say? Did I say anything horrible to my ex-girlfriend? Stuff like that.
Yeah. I think those blackouts were kind of the scariest. I've definitely woken up next to people I didn't remember going home with.
Yeah, that's one
You
of the
get that,
things.
like, yeah.
You immediately, like, you wake up and you're like, what? holy shit, what did I do?
Yeah.
And who
Yeah.
did I do it with?
And like, how do I get home? See, I didn't have my license. So when I was drinking, I would always be like, can you bring me home? But in my mind, it was like, take me to my house. In their mind, it was take me to their house. So I would like, oh, my house isn't that way. And they're like, no, we're going to mine. And I was too like messed up to kind of say otherwise. Yeah, it got pretty scary. Uh,
Yeah.
but it was just the addiction. I mean,
All that matters is where you are right now and what you're doing
yeah,
right now. And
yeah.
so my last question for you is, do you have any advice for people watching or listening based on your experiences?
Mm.
It's a big one, right?
Yes, that's a huge one. Don't let the fear of dealing with your feelings be a reason why you continue to use. I think that that's a huge thing. Like, we will stop drinking or using for a couple of weeks, and then that's one of the biggest triggers is all these feelings come up because we haven't dealt with things for a really, really long time. And when we did feel those things, we would get high or drunk so we didn't feel them.
Yep.
And I think that's one of the biggest barriers to recovery with people is, you start feeling stuff and it's heavy. It's heavy, but it's okay to feel things. It's okay to not be okay, and reach out for help if you're feeling some type of way, but don't give in. Um, that, and don't let your past define your future. I mean, I'm living proof you can turn a hoe into a housewife.
There you go. I never heard that one before.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's good stuff. What's
That's
your
great.
advice for people?
Oh, that's a good question. Let me see. Stick with it, like you said. Just it seems like an impossible task at first, but stick with it and it does get easier, because I thought the same thing as you. Like when I thought I couldn't imagine a life without booze. I literally couldn't figure it out. Like, well, what am I going to do when I go to watch a movie? What am I going to do when I get home from work? What am I going to do when I wake up on Sundays and I'm all by myself? It was just like, what are you going to do? Because you're just so used to be drinking, passing out by, or like, 1, 2 in the afternoon, getting up again, drinking till 10 o'clock at night. It's just a cycle, drinking and drugs. And if I wasn't drinking, I was high on something all day, all night. So my advice would be stick with it. It gets easier, and get all the support you can. Work a program. Doesn't have to be my program. Doesn't have to be AA or NA. Just find something that you can work and stick with that. I think that would be my advice. I have a shitload of advice, but that would be something that stands out right now.
Yeah, I think that's good. Definitely.
But
Definitely.
yeah,
The
that's a
support
good place to
system
wrap.
is huge.
Yeah, there are support systems out there. That's another thing is you don't have to be alone if you don't want to be. If someone says I have to do this by myself, you know what I'd say to them right in the face if I was their sponsor? Bullshit. Bullshit.
Right.
You can find someone to talk to you online, in person. You can find somebody. Absolutely, you can
Definitely.
find somebody. And just community. It's huge. That's one of the 4 pillars. Remember, I was telling you the 4 pillars. The last one is community. You need to have the wrong people out of your life, and you need to bring in the right people.
Yeah,
That's a huge part of it,
definitely.
is having someone you can call, whether it's your mom, brother, sister, or a sponsor, or a fellow addict, or just a friend, whatever it is. There's always somebody. Don't get me wrong. I know there are people where they feel like they have nobody, so they may not have friends or family, but you can find a working professional or a peer support group to help you along. Nobody gets kicked out of an AA meeting. So show up.
Right. Yeah.
You can say whatever you
Sure.
want. I did this, I did that. As long as you don't admit to killing someone, it stays there.
Right. Yeah. That's huge. I kind of went through this weird period when I got sober because I was such a social person. Like we would always drink at the bar together. And I had this like group of cohorts that we would always drink together and kind of like, oh, you're buying tonight and I'll buy this night.
Yeah.
And I stopped drinking and they stopped talking to me. And I was like, I thought they were my friends, but they were just there.
They were just
Uh,
drinking buddies.
yeah. And that was a huge wake up call for me because I was sitting here, I'm like, you don't even want to like just talk to me? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, that was a hard pill to swallow because I thought I had all these awesome people in my life, but they were just there to help me destroy myself.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's a good place to wrap it up. That was a great interview. I really appreciate you coming on the podcast today.
Thank you. I enjoyed talking and telling my story and kind of putting it out there that, don't let your life circumstances determine what you can do with your future, for sure.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
No, of course. So for everyone listening and watching, if you like what you heard and saw, go below and subscribe. Also give us a like. And you can also check us out on a couple of platforms where we post stuff like Instagram, Twitter, Reddit. You can also check out our Facebook group. I highly suggest going to the events tab where you'll find a link to our nightly Zoom meeting that we do, and you'll find all the sign-in information available. And that's all I have for today. So until next time.